Hey guys, we're out here in the woods. We're getting ready to go on an epic adventure. Man, this is going to be so much fun. This is going to be so cool. So let's get going. Let's go. Let's see. Wait a minute. I got to figure out which way to go here. Go that way? No, I'm not sure. No, I think it was this way. No, let's check the map. Let's check the map. All right, so we're in Virginia, right? So I got my Virginia map here. Let's check it out and see which way we're supposed to go. Let's see, where are we? Where are we on this map? I'm not sure. I think okay, yeah, we're right here. We're right here. Let's check. No, let's see. It's not matching up. Okay, the map's not matching up. Alright, I think I'm supposed to go this way. No, it's not right. I'm sure we got to go this way. This is the way to go right here. Hey guys, Smelling Roses here. Welcome back to my wilderness navigation series. Now I know that opening scene in the video was kind of silly and a little bit ridiculous, but I just wanted to highlight what we're going to be discussing in today's episode. Getting the right map. It should not be any surprise that there are many different kinds of maps, and as the opening scene pointed out, we must find the map that is appropriate to our situation if we are going to successfully navigate. Now, the map I was using in the opening scene of this episode is the Rand McNally Road Atlas, perhaps the gold standard when it comes to roads and highways maps. Now, I know this series is about wilderness navigation, but as someone who drives an average of 60 to 70,000 miles every year, I really rely heavily on this road map, and I just wanted to point out that there are numerous errors in this map. I have found a lot of problems with this map. Remember that any map may contain errors, and you should just use it as a guide only. Now, while this road map has never failed to get me where I was going, I have found numerous errors with the map, and I just have to understand its shortcomings and use it accordingly. Not every map will contain all the details you may need to successfully navigate. I'll just bring in a couple of examples of some kind of weak maps for navigation. We have here a very typical trail map from a Virginia state park, and this map is a map of a Virginia wildlife management area from the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. You can see both maps contain a lot of details regarding the roads, access points, and in the case of this trail map, you can see all of the park's trails are clearly marked with their names and locations. However, neither of these maps really give you much detail about the terrain or conditions. Even this trail map, it has the trails listed and shows their length and whether they're considered moderate or strenuous, but that even is really subjective information. What you may consider an easy trail, another person may consider it to be strenuous. If these maps contain more details about the terrain, for example, a person could make a more informed decision. Now, while these maps can still be useful, we may need to cross-reference with a more detailed map. So if you will be traveling in a wilderness area, especially if you plan on going off-trail, you're definitely going to need what is known as a topographic map. And we have an example of a topographic map here. A topographic map simply depicts the terrain or the shape of the land. It attempts to give us a 3D picture in a two-dimensional page. And the primary way this is done is by using contour lines. And I'll just zoom in here. You can see these lines on the map. These are known as contour lines. And basically each line represents a specific elevation. For example, here you can see this line is 500 feet above sea level. And everywhere along that line is the same elevation. Everywhere along this line is 500 feet above sea level. So guys, a good topographic map has tons of detailed information. Even if you are highly experienced, don't just buy a map and head straight out to the woods. Spend a little time before you head out to get familiar with your map. If you are new to using maps, start in the comfort of home and get familiar with all the signs and symbols on your map. You may also want to get a topographic map of an area you are already very familiar with, and then go out and practice recognizing the terrain features that are shown on the map. So we're going to be talking more about it as this series progresses and we get into the nuts and bolts of reading your map and using it out in the field. But let's take a short look at a few key features that you will want to be familiar with. First of all, just take a look at the name of your map. We have a few examples here. You can see this map is Mount Rogers High Country. We have the Birkhead Mountains Wilderness, and we have a Hanging Rock State Park map here. Every map should have the name of the map on it, and that will indicate what area is covered by the map. Now, it may seem ridiculous to say that you want to make sure you have the correct map for the area that you plan to visit, but I've personally ran into guys out on the trail that, for whatever reason, grabbed the wrong map or didn't understand that the map they had did not cover the area they were in. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the map covers the area that you plan to visit. And along with that, if the area you plan to visit is down near the corner of the map, for example, you may need more than one map to cover your entire journey, potentially up to 4 maps. And if you're on a really long distance trek, such as a through hike of a long distance trail like the Appalachian Trail, or perhaps you're backpacking through Europe, or you're going to hike across the United States, you could need dozens and dozens of maps for a journey like that. So just make sure that the map you have covers the area that you plan to visit. Another very important piece of information that will be printed on every map are your basic directions. You can see here we have the indication for north, east, south, and west. Obviously that's very important when you're trying to navigate. And usually in your maps in this area it will also give you the declination, which you can see on this particular map. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it says the approximate declination is 7 degrees west. Now that's something we'll get into later when we start talking about using your compass. But that's very important information that you're going to want to be familiar with when you're using your map. Another very important piece of information is to understand the scale of your map. You can see here this particular map has a scale of 1 to 35,000. And also in this area you will find the contour interval. On this map the contour interval is 50 feet. And on this map of 1 in 35,000 you'll see that 1 inch equals 0.6 of a mile. So 1 inch will be just a little over a half a mile on this particular map. It's very important to pay attention to the scale and contour interval because that will be different on every map. You can take a look here. I have another map. On this map we have a scale of 1 in 75,000. So here 1 inch equals 1.2 miles. So you can see a very big difference. I have used maps in this scale of 1 in 75,000 to navigate even off trail in wilderness areas, but it's really not ideal. Especially if you're new to map reading, you really want to find a large scale map. This map here, a 1 in 35,000, is really not bad. So you can see here on this Burkhead Mountains wilderness map, we have a scale of 1 in 24,000. When you have a large scale like this, you can see the contour interval is 20 feet. So this map will be very detailed. And if we were to use this map to navigate out in this wilderness area, it would be very easy to pick up on all the little terrain details and make it much easier to find our way in the wilderness. Now, usually if you will look along the borders of your map, you will find additional useful information. Very often you will find here the coordinate information for the UTM grid. Again, we're going to talk about that in more detail later on in the series. Additionally, most any map will contain a small legend with just explaining the colors and various symbols and what they mean. You will often find these are very similar from one map to another, but it's always a good idea to check your particular map because there can be minor differences in some of the symbols and their meaning. And many maps, but certainly not all, will also contain detailed information about any trails that are on that particular map. You can see an example here. The trails are listed by name here in a list, and there's some information about where to find them, the location of the trailheads on the map, their length, their difficulty, the blaze color, and their uses, for example. This is very typical of most trail maps will have something similar to this, so obviously when you're planning your trip, this will be very, very useful information for you. Lastly, many maps, but certainly not all, will often contain some historical or cultural information that is related to the area covered by the map. You can see an example of that here. They will also often have any rules that may be involved with a particular area. So being able to look at these contour lines and understand them is really the essence of map reading. If you will recall from our earlier introduction, each one of these contour lines represents a specific elevation, and everywhere along that line is the same elevation. Now the contour interval is the difference from one line to the other. So if we are traveling on a line, our elevation really never changes. But if we go up or down to another line, then our elevation is changing, and that's what is represented by the contour lines and the contour interval, and that's what we need to understand when we're using these maps. The ability to look at these contour lines and recognize the actual land features that they represent, and vice versa, to be out in the woods and see a land feature and then be able to find it on your topographical map. This is called terrain association. And in my opinion, it's possibly the most crucial skill to learn in order to successfully navigate with your map. A good navigator can look at this map and know what to expect before ever even leaving home. You can use this information to know how to dress or know what gear you will need to take, how much water to carry, and even estimate how much time it will take to complete a hike, for example. So guys, we've mostly been just covering some rather basic introductory information so far, but I hope you guys are enjoying how this series is progressing. Please be sure to leave comments and let me know what you like, what you don't like, and maybe what you'd like to see in future episodes. Your constructive comments are always welcome, and I look forward to interacting with you guys. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you out on the trail.